that she has a Sega Tv, and she gets them within the next 20 minutes or so. If not,
What do you have tonight?
and we start taking on that.
This is
Alright, so I'll write
President and CEO of Sega of America.
Spell your last name for me.
K-A-L-I-N-S-K-E.
Why is Sega doing this? In other words, developing this rating system, if you will.
As a service to our game player and the consumer, we have a very wide audience of game players. 40% of our Genesis players are over 18 years old. 70% of our CD-ROM players are over 18 years old. They want a different type of game than young children do. At the same time, we want to make sure the parent and the consumer understands what the content of a game is and what's appropriate for young children, what's maybe appropriate for teenagers, and what's appropriate for older adults.
Why now? Why'd you come up with it now?
Coincidence. We started on this over a year ago. It takes a long time in business to get internal agreement inside a company, and also we deal with so many other people. We're dependent upon third-party developers who make games for us. We have to work with all these people before we can just come out with a new standard. But we believe this standard is going to become very important to the industry.
Think it should be adopted by other companies?
I think it'll have to be. I mean, I think they have to do what we're doing as games become more realistic and as games appeal to a broader audience.
There are some suggestions you may have seen that you're really doing this under pressure, if you will. Last week we had hearings in Congress on violence in television, and some people are suggesting that it was just one more step into video games. Was it because of that?
It wasn't because of the pressure. As I said, we started on this over a year ago, but I don't think there's anything wrong with people pressuring us to make us take actions that should be taken. We believe there should be rating system on games because it's helpful to the consumer. So if the pressure pushed us along a little faster, that's okay.
Had you received criticism because of the violence?
You know, 90% of our games don't have any violence in them. 90% of our games are perfect for 6-year-olds to 12-year-olds. Many of our products are sports products. 35% of our sales come from games that depict real sports. So a very small number of our games have violence in them. They often are associated with movies from Hollywood or television shows. They're licensed products. They're no more violent than what you see on TV or what are rated PG-13 films.
Of course, you get people who will say that there's too much violence on television, too.
Yes, you will, and I think the parent has a responsibility to decide whether they want their child to watch some of the more violent television shows, and they certainly have that same responsibility in deciding what video games their children play with.
Why not just cut down on the violence if that is target of criticism instead of developing a rating system?
I guess the same reason that Hollywood and the TV industry and the writer of books, the Stephen King books and what have you, continue to have violence in their products. It sells products. It's what the consumer wants. The mature audience wants to have a certain degree of realism in the product that, for whatever reasons, they enjoy being involved with.
By developing this rating system, I mean, in the back of your mind, are you hoping to preempt government intervention in this whole field, or was that even a concern?
Never really was a concern on government intervention. My main concern is we've got to communicate properly to our consumer, to the parents and to the child game player.
Had you heard from parents about something like this or needing something like this?
We get very little criticism from parents on our products, but occasionally, certainly, someone would call up and say, gee, I wasn't aware that there was such and such a scene in a game, and that made us feel bad. We should be communicating better to the consumer.
Your rating systems, I believe, go GA, MA13, MA17.
Right.
What kind of a game would be rated MA17?
I haven't seen it yet, first of all, because as far as I know, we don't have any in-house that will carry that rating. But you know, again, all the people that we deal with, they are creative folks. They want an opportunity to develop product for an older age group. And if we see that product, it would be equivalent, I suppose, to an R-rated movie.
I suppose if there are any critics out there, they're going to say, well, now it depends on how you're going to come up with the criteria in which to rate these discs. How are you?
Well, the criteria are very much like the movie industry criteria, and to some degree, of course, that is subjective, but we have a group of people inside who are expert game players and evaluators, and they will be involved in the rating process. We're conducting focus groups with consumers, so there will be consumer input into the rating process. And of course, to other outside experts, educators, psychologists, that sort of people.
Will all of those people be on a so-called rating board? Or?
Can't be, because remember, unlike a movie that you can sit and watch in 90 minutes, we make games that you can't get through if you played them for a week. So we can't have all these people looking at every scene of every product. It would just be a physical impossibility. But we can get their input on the types of things that should be in a game or shouldn't be in a game.
You are the first and only company to announce a rating system, correct?
So far as I know.
Yeah. I mean, what do you expect to happen now within the industry? As I read, Nintendo says they have no intention of coming up with a similar rating system because they don't manufacture the products that really need a rating system. I mean, what do you hope to happen in the industry-wide?
I believe the industry will follow Sega. Nintendo's comment is, I think for their purposes, they make as many or more fighting games, as they're called, than we do. Street Fighter II from them is the best-selling product on the market today. However, as a parent, I believe we've got to have a rating system for children, and I believe that the whole industry is going to follow us, including Nintendo.
Okay. I would guess.
Yeah, it's been a very ferocious competition.
And they're still so-called number.
We're catching them very rapidly. In 16-bit, Sega Genesis is the favored system. We have a larger market share than Nintendo. In the older technology, the 8-bit, they have a larger share. In total volume, we doubled our business last year, and they grew 2%.
We were talking earlier about, I guess, first we bought I guess it was the original Nintendo, and then they came out with this new one.
Super NES.
Wii. What am I saying? Wii. My wife is one
Your
who
wife,
plays this.
Yeah. Does she play games?
Oh, God, does she play games? But she used to play the ones, that the system you hook up to your TV. Now she bought one of these handheld things.
Black and white or color?
It's Tetris.